John, today our topic is we want to talk privacy and freedom. And I think privacy is essential for freedom. That's really why I do this. This is why I focus on privacy, because I don't think we can have freedom without privacy. So this kind of opens us up for all kinds of topics today. I'd like to see what you see is happening in the world. Let's talk crypto. Let's talk about central bank digital currencies and living outside the system. But I want to start with this. You have a core belief that is really cool, I think, which is you can't fight for freedom, you have to create it. So can you explain that?
Sure. Well, there's all sorts of different strategies and tactics people can utilize in order to create more freedom. And as somebody that's done activism for over 20 years now, I've had the opportunity to test out a lot of these different strategies. And I've come to find that some of them have bore more fruit than others. So I did the political activism thing for several years. We lobbied, we got people elected, we got people unelected. We actually had legislation passed. Speaking of privacy, my ex-wife and I did a lot of activism back in the day, pushing back against these fusion centers. That's a Department of Homeland Security institution, which sprung up after 9/11. And the goal, these are like physical spaces, but they bring together local, state, and federal law enforcement, and they synergize and systematize the information gathering and intelligence sharing practices of these institutions. And so we learned about it because back in 2007, the Missouri Fusion Center, was called the MIAC, Missouri Information and Analysis Center. They put out this report called the Modern Militia Movement. And again, this is a FBI, DHS, state police kind of thing. They even mix in local police, school, like the local school district police, college police, all sorts of stuff. They tie in all the surveillance cameras, and the FBI puts out a bulletin. It gets disseminated to watch out for this or that. Information goes from the top to bottom and the bottom to the top. It's basically total information awareness, this DARPA program being implemented. But nonetheless, this Modern Militia Movement document said that law enforcement in Missouri should be cautious about the possibility of violent responses from these militia people. And they said one indicator that someone might be one of these militia people, and therefore you should be scared and worried and concerned and maybe have a heightened level of alert, maybe be more quick to draw your pistol, for example, is if they have Libertarian Party bumper stickers, Gadsden flag, don't tread on me, Ron Paul or Chuck Baldwin, who ran for the Constitution Party. So we're like stumping for Ron Paul and all gung-ho about Ron Paul back in 2008, 2009. And then this report comes out and you're like, what the heck? They're targeting us. We're just peaceniks wanting to end the war and abolish the income tax. And like, we're not militia members by any means. Not that there's anything wrong with that in most instances, but nonetheless, that's what tipped our radar to this fusion center thing. So long story short, we did all sorts of activism, traveling around the country, educating people. We showed up to like 7 or 8 of these fusion centers, handing in open records requests and filming with our cameras. It's pretty bold. We were like driving up to National Guard bases with paperwork and cameras rolling, which is why everyone's like, I don't want to get involved in activism or speak out because they'll come and get me. And it's like, man, I've been doing this for 20 years and we like literally went and poked the beast in its eye and we haven't been locked up or anything. Well, I guess I've been in jail a couple times for activism, but not anything crazy. Anyway, I digress. So we managed to do a lot of work here in the city of Austin when we learned about the Austin Fusion Center, the Austin Regional Intelligence Center. And we managed to get a privacy policy in place that would prohibit the Fusion Center from collecting information solely of a religious, political, or social view. We then took that privacy policy, incorporated it into legislation at the state level that would have forced the same privacy policy on all 8 Fusion Centers in Texas. And I actually authored a bill. I worked with the Texas Motorcycle Rights Association because the Department of Public Safety was pulling over bikers and taking pictures of their insignia and their patches and their tattoos and putting it in this Fusion Center database. So we managed to get this legislation passed. We managed to get this privacy policy passed at the local city level in Austin. It took a lot of energy. It took a lot of work. It took some money. It took a lot of attention and focus. At the end of the day, come to find out, even though this privacy policy was implemented at the Austin level, I later discovered, thanks to some anonymous hackers, they hacked into these fusion centers and released all their documents, that I was in the fusion center database. I was put in there by a terrorism liaison officer for promoting freedom cells. So that's obviously political view. It's not anything crazy. So the end of this, the long and short of it is, even though we did all this work, we played by the rules. Like when you complain about government, they're like, well, why don't you do something about it? Get involved in politics. We did all that. We even got legislation passed in Texas. No fusion center followed at all. There was no accountability. Nobody followed up on it. There was no recourse for fusion centers not following it.